it's important to highlight, like, we have an existing customer base, right? So we are coming from a very different angle. We are not a new technology that we are trying to build something from zero, but we have an existing customer base. We have successful product. We are enhancing, taking that product to go and sell, upsell, give more value to our existing customer base, plus open opportunities in the enterprise space, right? So, okay, so let me give you a gist of where our customers are actually, where we have customers pretty much in every continent. Most of the, around the world, we have customers. There are about 200 clouds running in production today, right? So, and majority of these clouds are actually public clouds. So that means these clouds run at a very large scale as compared to the enterprise clouds. So it's been pretty successful product, and Citrix and Cloud.com did a fantastic job in actually selling this product.
Does Accelerite not work south of the equator?
This is just a representation. We didn't.
It's actually absolute. We didn't want Australia. We have like a handful of customers, but not on the cloud side.
So
not in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Auckland something education. Somebody who used to be a customer, they're not anymore. Are they still a customer? Oh, you do have one? Okay, we have one in New Zealand apparently.
Awesome.
I took the show you the concentration. Asia is pretty heavy, and then you have Europe, and then some in US.
Which is quite similar to the OpenStack momentum as well. Asia is huge for them.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So just to give you a scale, right? What these clouds look like, who's using for what purposes, that kind of idea, right? So some of the metrics we pulled out, these are some interesting metrics to highlight. So you understand the scale at the clouds are operating currently, right? We have a public cloud provider who runs about 26 data centers on a single cloud environment. 26 zones. Compare that, and 26 zones distributed in 26 geos, completely different countries and different continents altogether. That's a massive scale, considering Amazon has 44 zones today in 16 geographies. This looks pretty decent because the scale, the distribution is quite wide. And then we have a customer who runs about 8.4 million compute hours per month. Now that translates into about 11,000 virtual machines at a steady state. And this is an enterprise cloud. This is not a public cloud vendor. This is an enterprise cloud using for own consumption and delivering the SaaS services. We've got not one or two, we've got several clouds which are over 4,000 hosts. Now 4,000 hosts, if you convert that number to number of cores, that translates to about 120,000 to 150,000 cores. That's a lot of capacity on a single cloud. And finally, one more metric which is interesting is for DevOps use case, we've got 1,600 VMs per day. These are the new virtual machines which get launched by the developers and the IT guys on a single cloud. Again, an enterprise use case. It's actually a SaaS provider, but we club them as an enterprise cloud, not as a public cloud vendor. So massive scale, huge number of clouds, very dynamic infrastructure. We are very proud of these customers actually who do this on a daily basis, right? So where are these guys? These guys are in gaming industry, financial services, education, research organizations, and SaaS providers, right? SaaS providers is pretty interesting use case, as Nara mentioned about the repatriation use case. We see this category of actually customers on the rise. And this will be the trend. We truly believe that this will be the trend for companies who are going to save their bottom lines. This is where the trend is going to be.
That last one, 1,600 VMs per day, is that a single customer or is that across?
One single customer.
Single customer.
Single customer launching 1,600.
And are they a SaaS provider?
They are a SaaS company, yeah. So they use for delivering their products.
This is a DevOps cloud. This is a DevOps cloud. 1,600 VMs are being created and destroyed.
Okay. But the initial value prop was bringing things back on site so that they had a steady state. And now we're seeing that there's 1,600 VMs per day, but it's a DevOps. It's spinning up and spinning down. It kind of
this is
mismatched
about-
with
this
No,
is
no.
for-
Again, I'm telling you,
what it's actually being used for.
it's being used there.
Sure.
You know, I mean, we think we will get a lot of momentum, as you said, in repatriation. But what we think and what the customer thinks at times are different. You know,
Fair enough.
we don't say no to $1. We take it.
No, I think the other important thing is the scale. So DevOps and those use cases are excellent when you're starting out and up to a certain number of VMs. But once as you start growing up, the public cloud will not make sense. So again, this will make much more sense, right? So it's great for DevOps use cases, but anything at scale that you can do in-house, you'll be paying much more in public cloud.
The steady state there is constant change.
Yes.
Steady state there is constant.
And at large
1,500
scale.
VMs churning each day.
It's not, but it's not the same as having a one-year sale where you suddenly need to turn on 18,000 VMs for 2 days and then turn them all off again.
Right,
that's a good point.
It's just, yeah, we do, every day we turn them all on and off.
Right.
Right.
But if you draw the chart, it just sort of goes. The
Yep.
average would be flat.
Yeah, I think that the bottom line here is it's not just about, it's not as simple as just saying it has to do with cost. You have to really characterize and understand the workload and what the demand is. And once you understand that, then you start to understand what is the solution, what is the technology that makes sense to leverage. And as that demand changes, as those requirements change, at one point in time, it may make sense to leverage public cloud. It may make sense to use private cloud. It may make sense to go back to public cloud,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But it's important to understand what is the outcome that you're managing to, more so than just say, okay, which is cheaper.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
it's
I mean,
not just about
It's not-
dollars, and
it's
that's,
not just about
that's the
dollars.
piece that
100% correct.
people get stuck on, is this money issue. It's an important factor. I don't want to minimize it,
Yes.
but it's not just about dollars.
Well, that's obviously the important thing for customers. But at the end of the day, for Accelerite, they don't care. If there's a customer that wants to move to Accelerite for the wrong reasons, they'll support them to do so. I mean, that's customers make decisions.
I mean, a lot of places, they run DevOps only in private environment because they're a regulated industry and they cannot do anything
That's
outside.
right.
There are
That's right.
tons of those cases where DevOps happens in-house. Or like this guy, right? I mean, 1,600 VMs per day, even in DevOps, it makes economical sense. Now, for us, the key thing, one of the things that I'd like to point out is we support hybrid. You can go launch those VMs in Amazon for all we care. We give you a uniform orchestration API where you can orchestrate your own stuff or Amazon stuff. We don't care because the orchestration API is the same. Amazon shows up as a zone. So we still allow you to do what you want to do in Amazon using our DevOps script. So in a sense, if cost was a problem and you didn't have enough thing here for small scale, go launch those VMs in Amazon with still the same API scripts, in smaller scale. Go ahead.
Right? Okay, so just to give you use cases, it's a very small sample of the use cases, right? 40% of our customer base is actually public cloud vendors. So these are the regional cloud vendors actually.
So is that 40% in number of customers or?
No. Total dollar revenue
Total
and number of
dollar
VMs
revenue.
running. Pure numbers wise, we have about 200 customers, of whom probably 20 something are public cloud vendors, 20, 25 maybe, and the rest are private cloud customers. But their volume happens to be much smaller than the public cloud guys.
Right. So some of these vendors, actually public cloud vendors, are much larger even than the global cloud providers in those regions are much smaller than them, basically. So these are much larger clouds. So SaaS applications, I talked about this, VDI, repatriation, we sort of nailed that quite a bit today. And then we've got streaming, media companies, and intelligent assistant. This is a Siri-like application which runs on our cloud, and DevOps being a very common use case as well. So, okay, so we have our existing customer base. We are selling them a cloud platform. They have been using the technology for a while. So our mission was basically how do we take that stable working technology which has been proven at the scale, how do we go build something new that we can go give them more value and also open up new opportunities for Accelerite, right? Our product could be used not only by the public cloud vendors, but enterprises could actually benefit from as well. So we wanted to enhance this technology, obviously improve the public cloud-like experience on the product, right? Obviously, the product, the way it is designed today, it looks and feels like Amazon, but we wanted to make the enhancement so that the experience is exactly like a public cloud experience. So there's a lot of modifications there. We are working on enhancements to make that happen. And Nara mentioned this hybrid cloud, right? Without hybrid, the story doesn't sell anywhere in the enterprises. So we wanted to build federation with other clouds. Now, interestingly, what we have done is it's not only federating with Amazon or Google or Azure, but we are federating our clouds. On-prem clouds can be federated with other Accelerite clouds as well. So our other regional cloud providers will actually have the federation with on-prem clouds. And there's a fantastic use case for hybrid clouds. I'll talk about this later. And then simplified operations. One of the issues that Nara mentioned several times, right? The complexity of managing and operating a cloud is so high that most of the enterprise projects fail just because of that reason. So we have focused a lot on simplifying the operations of the cloud. And I'll show you, we have a demo for this as well. So there is an ops manager product that we're going to showcase today, how it sort of improves the day 0 to day 2 sort of tasks on daily basis.
Sorry, for the people who are running your Rovius as a public cloud, which they're providing, if you're in an example where a service provider wants to choose to become, for example, a VMware vCloud Air network partner or run Rovius with CloudStack, is there an advantage? Is Rovius potentially cheaper than them, or how would a service provider choose what public cloud platform they're gonna run, other than pure customer demand, or doesn't it matter?
So compared to VMware, you mean?
Yes.
vCloud, you mean against vCloud Air?
Yes.
Honestly, I wouldn't be comfortable comparing price in an open forum. Because I'm not supposed to know vCloud Air's price list, so I don't want to say if we are cheaper or not. But we believe we can compete with them on price.
Well, the network exists, not vCloud Air run by VMware, but the vCloud Air network of partners still exists.
I see what you're saying.
Yes.
So I see what you're saying. I think the question then is, if I'm an enterprise and I want a VPC, is that the...
No, if I'm a service provider and I want to provide a public cloud, why would I come to Rovius for the software to do that rather than become a vCloud Air network partner?
That's a good question.
It's a good question.
If you want to sell VMware, you go become their partner.
But part of the problem is that VMware, it comes back to the licensing fees. I mean, having worked for a VMware partner, there's no money on the table for partners in terms of VMware licensing. So if you can get away with something other than VMware, that's the path you take.
I mean, I know VMware network, the partner network for these hosting provider network actually was pretty large. They had somewhere in the range of about 1,000 plus partners, and everybody is selling the same product. There's no differentiation, there's no competition. I mean, everything exactly looks same. Whether you go to vendor A or vendor B, they'll sell you the same stuff. So it's hard for the partner to differentiate. What else would you do that other 1,000 partners are not doing? I think I've heard this from the partners, VMware partners actually, is they couldn't just differentiate themselves, and then they would compete on the price.
I think Lingua wants to say something. Lingua runs our engineering for the cloud business. Go ahead.
So I don't know about VMware, but we have a public cloud provider. They sell AWS. They also use cloud platform to provide public cloud. And the reason they are doing both is they get a better margin on cloud platform. That's what they told us.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so this platform, obviously, we are enhancing everything, right? Obviously, we touched upon the pricing, right? So we wanted to make sure that we be highly competitive in the marketplace. We have to be sensitive to that. We not only beat the competition on the features and functionality, skill, and all that good stuff, but also on the cost point of view and fastest time to value. We believe that we have created a platform where the time to value is almost instantaneous, right? Customers can get the cloud running and being consumed by their end users within minutes, within hours actually. And we have a demo actually to show you that how easy it is to just rack up your servers and get your cloud running in an hour or so. And one more last thing is future-proofing the platform. So currently what happens is you go buy an IaaS layer, whether it's VMware or any other platform you're running, to integrate, say, new services. You bought Kubernetes or Mesos or something else that you want to integrate it. Those are separate, isolated products. So the tools for managing these products are going to be separate. Everything is going to be separate. It's literally not integrated in the sense like all these are point products doing one thing or the other. What we have done is we have created a service framework architecture on Rovius, which allows us to integrate or deliver any new technology as a service, right? So if I want to deliver Kubernetes on Rovius, we will provision Kubernetes and fully manage it with our ops manager rather than you bringing a separate product to manage it. So it's seamless. It keeps growing. It doesn't stop at IaaS layer. It keeps adding more and more services, whether you want PaaS layer, database services, or any other services that you want to run. And we have a demo for that as well. I'm hoping that we can get to these demos. They are really, really cool demos to demonstrate all these capabilities.
Don't let us stop you getting to the demos.
Sorry?
It's a rare tech field day if we're stopping you getting to the demos.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nara mentioned this, right? So Rovius is basically a software stack, right? It's an appliance. It's not bundled with hardware or anything like that. You bring your own hardware. Rovius takes your bare metal racks of servers and converts into a cloud. Everything that you need, it'll be a truly cloud orchestration platform. And then we have Ops Manager. It's very simple. You build your cloud, you register the cloud with an Ops Manager, and you're done. It'll manage the cloud for you. All the tasks, day 0, day 2, everything is covered by Ops Manager. And hybrid by design, all the plugin, all the federation is already built in. So you're not configuring anything, it's already built in. So the public clouds will look like additional zone, what we call as a virtual zone in the product itself to the end user.
Do you have requirements around the bare metal that has to be used? Does it like have to have an IPMI interface, or
Yes.
that's
Need
like your
IPMI.
requirement?
You need IPMI.
We need IPMI, and that's exactly what we are going to showcase in that demo. Actually, it's pretty cool. So at a very high level, sorry, something is missing on that side. The rack disappeared. Actually, sorry about
Just
that.
a tiny little data center.
It's in the cloud, actually. So this is a very high-level diagram. I just wanted to put it there because most of you guys are very familiar with the VMware world, private cloud environments. So I just wanted to put it there. At a very high level, I'll explain what the systems are, right? So we have a bare metal controller. Bare metal controller is basically which provisions and preps all the hardware. So it will communicate using IPMI, prep it, make sure that MAC addresses and everything is known before we start provisioning everything. So this controls all the infrastructure, the compute nodes, the storage, everything. Bare metal controls it. We have a configurator. Now, a configurator is actually a system which provisions the cloud, right? It takes a blueprint of how you want to configure the cloud, and it will provision the cloud. So typically in the context of cloud, you would have availability zones. Zones would have pods. Pods would have clusters. Clusters would have hosts, etc., etc. So that is a blueprint that the configurator allows you to create one, and it consumes. It's like a simple YAML file, and then it will provision everything after your configurator has prepped all the bare metal servers, right? So this feeds into that, and then Ops Manager covers all the entire monitoring, the health checks of the subsystems, everything. It will take care of it. Discovering the hardware, log management, pushing all the log files from all the systems into a log stash or an ELK stack so that you can run analytics, or we internally can run analytics, and down the road we'll be able to do predictive analytics. So we can highlight the errors before the user sees those kind of errors, right? So this part is actually Rovius. That part is our existing platform, right? That's a cloud platform. So orchestrator, compute manager, storage manager, network manager, that part is the existing platform, right? And then federation is the new piece which doesn't exist in cloud stack today, but we are contributing that to the community as well. So, and the end user console is a common single pane of glass for whether you are provisioning resources on your on-prem cloud or the external cloud, right? Any questions on this diagram? We might have oversimplified this.
The diagram itself makes sense, but I'm sitting here thinking about disaster recovery. We've talked about like private clouds.
We don't have that yet.
Okay, so you can't fail your private cloud over to another private
It's a roadmap
cloud.
item, should be there by the
Okay.
end of the year. So what we're going to, today we allow you to federate workloads. You can create a VM here, you can create a VM in Amazon, it'll seamlessly network. It'll look like it is the same LAN, over either a direct connect or a VPN connection. We are working on technology to replicate your workload in the cloud and give you a disaster recovery pod in the cloud, so to speak, that you can recover. That should be available by the end of the year.
Okay, so that's one use case, but what about the organization that doesn't want anything to do with the public cloud? Can
In which
there
case you have to
also-
run a second data center, unfortunately.
Correct. So would you be able
So
to
the same
support
technology that will support
failover?
DR into the cloud will support into a second
Okay.
zone as well.
Yes.
Okay.
So you can take the same appliance and put it into a different data center. You're good to go.
So today, people, what they're doing, our customers, is they're bringing their own technology stack to do DR. You can do that with anyone. And if you do it with VMware, you would bring your whatever site recovery manager to do it. If you were someone else, you would bring a Zerto to do it. I mean, technology stack is there that can be used with this today.
Sure.
Just that we are not integrating it, and that is something we have in our roadmap by the end of the year.
Okay, great.
Okay, so let's talk about HCI, right? Nara also mentioned the complexity was quite a bit of private cloud related complexity was solved or is trying. HCI, hyperconverged infrastructure, is actually trying to solve that problem, right? So if you look at the HCI stack, obviously it gives you everything, right? You get a box. It's a scale out. You can rack it up, and you got compute, you got storage, you got virtualization, you got ops management. Everything is in the box. You just plug it in, boom, boom, it works out of there. It's a great technology. High density, obviously, you get. That was the mission of the HCI in first place. Everything integrated. You get some flexibility. You can, some vendors allow you to use a third-party external virtualization, but not all of them. So that means you are tied into using the virtualization layer that is built into the HCI layer itself, into the HCI hardware. And then scale out architecture. What happens is, say I want to scale just compute, right? That means I have to buy that same appliance, which comes with additional storage and virtualization, everything that I don't actually necessarily need, right? It just scales. It's perfect. Scalability is not an issue, but there is an additional sort of cost of scaling, and plus the management cost, right? The more number of layers that I scale, the more complexity adds up, and there is a challenge for me. And they give you a beautiful operations manager console as well, but it's an additional cost. It's not free. Like you still have to buy subscriptions and things like that. So if you compare our stack, right, where Rovius stack looks like, we do exactly the same thing. We got compute, storage, everything, virtualization, ops manager. And what we have is the flexibility of bring your own hardware. Now, why is this interesting? Because A, we are not locking you into our particular hardware. B, you might have hardware already used, lying around in your data center that you want to use it, repurpose it. So you can just bring your own hardware. It could be any blade servers, any other vendor, et cetera, will not lock you up. The other advantage that Rovius stack has is the flexibility to use your storage. Rovius stack bundles software-defined storage. So that means when you tell us, hey, provision storage on these compute nodes or storage boxes, we will provide you software-defined storage. But you might have existing storage. You have EMC NetApp lying around, SAN that you want to use. You can repurpose it. We allow you, when you create a blueprint of your cloud, you can specify these things. So you're not necessarily buying anything new from us. Same thing with virtualization. We give you Zen server currently today. By default, we will provision Zen server on the host for you, but you don't have to. You can bring your existing VMware, you can bring your existing Zen server, you can have VMware and mix and match those environments, which is actually not possible with any HCI.
About SDS integration with the existing storage, are there any compatibility metrics or so on?
Yes. So the product has been there for a very long time. We have plugins for pretty much all the storage vendors out there.
Okay.
So if you have a particular, and we package all of these plugins in our product, all you have to do is choose what kind of storage you are going to use. It's as easy.
When you say support for ACI by the end of the year, if you're hardware agnostic, what does that
Today,
mean?
we don't support, so hyperconverged infrastructure means that we got to be able to take the individual storages inside every compute and tie that into a unified storage layer that is available for compute to consume. If you have VMware running vSAN as your virtualization layer today, we can support HCI format hardware. At this stage, we don't support KVM with Ceph, which would have been the other technology where there is individual little storage nodes in each of the computes, and you got to tie those together, export as a unified storage. That is another roadmap item that is coming by the end of the year. So if you have hyperconverged infrastructure, individual boxes with a little bit of storage, a little bit of compute, you want to bind them together as a single cloud, we can support that using vSAN technology today, but KVM with Ceph is coming out by the end of the year.
Okay, so the HCI is actually going to be hard. You're going to roll your own hardware, buy your own hardware, stick your own drives in, and the actually software-defined storage layer is what you're going to be writing by the end of the year to manage that storage.
Exactly.
So today we support traditional format, which is compute
Shared
separate, storage separate, or vSAN. If you already have vSAN running, we can support that. But outside of vSAN, we don't support our own, software-defined storage for hyperconverged hardware.
So how does that compare to the integrated SDS solution you have now?
How does it compare?
So the first bullet point says you have integrated SDS. I'm assuming that's pool-based as well.
Yes, that doesn't do hyperconverged today.
Right.
SDS still, so we are
It's
today
per node.
bundling Datera. Datera is an SDS vendor. We have a deal with them where it is bundled as part of our product. Today, they don't support hyperconverged either, so it's got to be sort of a storage array separately.
Okay.
Okay. So that tells you basically, I just wanted to make sure that you clearly understand the difference between Rovius stack and the HCI vendors, because we get this question quite a bit actually.
Good.
So again, and most of you are very familiar. We talked about, we are building an ops manager, which will be a SaaS solution, which will manage all the Rovius appliances, on-prem deployments. But there are existing vendors who do this today, right? Those are MSPs. And according to us, we believe those are managed service providers who do this kind of stuff. And then we wanted to highlight the difference between how we do the managed private cloud versus what the MSPs do it, right? So let's look at the MSP solution today. The control plane for the cloud actually resides in the MSP's data center. So basically, it is outside of the enterprise firewall, right? And then they give you a management console which interacts with the control plane, sort of. Then you have a little bit of control and manageability on your infrastructure, but not a whole lot. So MSP usually gives you a gateway which interfaces with your VMware environments or any other virtualized environments if they support more than VMware. So there is a synchronization between the VMware environment to the gateway, to the management console, to the control plane. All the layers need to be synchronized for you to have a consistent state of the infrastructure. Now, we believe this is kind of little dangerous architecture in the sense that the network capabilities or the MSP gateway, if it's not available or it crashes or something like that, then it doesn't synchronize with the control plane. The control plane is out of sync with your virtualized environments, et cetera, all kinds of problems. You can see what would happen. In our case, we have management console, which gives you all the visibility of your entire infrastructure. You can do patching, upgrades, et cetera, but the control plane itself is residing with your virtualized infrastructure on-prem, and this is consistently in sync. It's in the same network. It's basically close to your environment. There is no synchronization required. This is very consistent environment, very there's very little chance of something going wrong here. And you can have multiple management servers running, so you take care of the high availability issues and things like that. You don't know if you have highly available environment or your control plane is highly available or not. Maybe not, because there are management services guys, they can provision or recover manually if they have to, right? So that's the big difference between us. We believe this architecture is much better because we are pushing the control plane down into the on-prem inside the firewall. And here's another advantage of doing this. If you do not want to register the cloud, this Rovius cloud, with the Ops Manager, which is a SaaS service, we give you an on-prem version of the Ops Manager. You can run it locally inside your data center. You can register your Rovius cloud with on-prem version. Never bother about using the cloud service if you don't want to, right? Does that make sense? Is this clear?
Is that from a request from enterprises who say we don't trust SaaS-based management?
We have heard hesitation of log files, especially when they are going outside of the firewall. That's a little bit iffy for enterprises.
I'd like to highlight one more reason. We have cloud providers, public cloud providers, who are beginning to resell Rovius as a private cloud platform. They don't want to use our cloud service. They want to run their own ops manager, which manages their customers. So we had to create architecture where the flexibility existed anyway, not tie them to our management console only, but we had to create something where a large CSP can run their own, because they don't want us to manage their customers' clouds for them. That's one of the data privacy issues, and they're guaranteeing a bunch of stuff. So we had to build the architecture anyway where it can run within or outside. So we're selling it to everyone as an added value feature.
And I presume the control plane, even though it's on-prem, if you're running multiple, even private clouds, that will be seen as one holistic cloud via the management console, even though each individual cloud or data center would have its own control plane?
So we'll see a demo. So what it'll look like, if you're logged in as a carrier who's managing multiple clouds, you will see all the clouds, you can manage all of them. But if you're logging in as an enterprise guy, you will see only your cloud with multiple data centers.
So you could have multiple control planes configured as separate clouds, or you could have zones configured under a single control plane. So you could do either way.
You could do either.
You can manage it that way as well. Again, so this slide is operational clarity. How do you manage Rovius Cloud, right? So you can have, it gives you visibility into monitoring, right? You can define your metrics that you want to collect. You want to collect CPU, swap, memory, etc. You can define all of those. Those are by default collected by the Rovius Ops Manager. Once you collect it, it's available in the cloud. And you can do the same thing with log files. So all the log files from all the systems, whether storage, hypervisor, compute orchestration, all of those log files are actually collected and indexed into a Elk stack. So that now we can make Share Insights, which is our product. We will integrate with Rovius. That gives the end user a capability to run analytics on their log files. Single-click upgrades, patches, we have tried to make it extremely easy. We deliver the patches through a cloud to the control plane. So the administrator of the control plane, whoever it is, gets only the relevant compatible patches for their environment. So they are out of, say, on a different version, we do not deliver all random patches to them. We'll deliver only patches that are relevant to their own version of the product. So we do that as well. And then single console, basically, right? So you can manage as many Rovius clouds as you want. Again, sorry for all the mess up with the graphics, actually.
Do you guys draw a line between infrastructure monitoring, I was looking at the point there about monitoring everything in real time, and then application monitoring. Are you strictly down at the infrastructure level or also, okay?
Currently, we are at the infrastructure level. So let's go to the next one is the hybrid architecture. And obviously, this is an Amazon AWS zone, and this is a Rovius zone. The idea is basically, if you look at the comparison between the zones, right, the terminology and everything is exactly the same. You got images, templates, storage. I mean, everything, it looks consistent. So for the end user, doesn't matter if they are referring to a template, they'll refer to a template, whether it's a template in virtual zone or a local zone, right? They will know the exact same terminology that they will use. The experience is very smooth, basically. It's a seamless experience in hybrid cloud. So just to highlight, right, this is the service framework which I mentioned in the beginning. We have the framework basically allows us to deliver anything as a service. Now, these are not just deploying Kubernetes or any other service, but this is actually fully managed deployment. That means Rovius Ops Manager will allow you to provision these, and it will also allow you to manage them. So the fully managed services, right? And we'll show, we have 2 services that we are currently shipping actually. It's a Share Insights, which is our product. We are shipping as a service on Rovius.
That includes Hadoop Insight, so we ship Cloudera with it. So it's a bundled analytics as a service that you can just enable, and you get Hadoop and analytics and everything. You can just start ingesting data, and you can start analyzing data right after that.
So this is very interesting use case for enterprises who want a turnkey solution. Don't bring 5 different point products to build an analytic solution. They get everything on a single box. That's what these in a single appliance.
Will you show us any of the analytics? Because that can vary greatly, like what analytics means.
Absolutely. What I'll do is we'll see if we can play a video of what the Share Insights product looks like. Let's finish the Rovius demo. We'll see if we can quickly play a video of that.
So same thing. I'll just skip a couple of slides here. Same thing. Kubernetes as a service is a service that we are shipping on Rovius today. So I'll stop here with the slides unless you guys want to ask any questions, drill down into any specifics. Otherwise, I would jump into a couple of demos, which will be.
Just not on the slides, but any thoughts of serverless as a service? Obviously, that's a huge topic with Lambda. And Azure functions, people don't want to be locked into a particular cloud. So this looks like the excellent kind of solution to be cross clouds. And there are new serverless frameworks. And
yeah, so we actually are big users of serverless on Amazon today for our IoT product line. We write tons of Lambda code. We haven't brought serverless into Rovius yet. We're a little behind the curve there. We want to get through a few of the things we are doing right now. We want to get disaster recovery done. We want to get a few things that we have in our roadmap till the end of the year. We're sort of busy.
That's on the
right
backlog.
after that, we will start looking at serverless.
Okay.